Hello again, Chris Lee of Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. We're here to talk about the biggest game in the country this week. Georgia visits Tennessee. For this one, I got two guys who really know their teams well. Brent Rollins, who works at UGAsports.com and has one of the best podcasts on college football with David Pollack, See Ball, Get Ball. So this guy knows Georgia. He also knows the college football landscape. Tony Basilio, if you are somebody who's been with the channel for a while, you know Tony. He is the biggest radio thing in Knoxville. Both these guys are super dudes. Tony, I've known each other a bit. Cannot wait to talk Georgia, Tennessee with you guys. Welcome each of you to the show. Tony, I'll start with you, being the reigning veteran of the podcast among the three of us here, or among the two guests. So you get the first one. And then I'll ask you the same, Brent. What is the vibe in Knoxville around this game, the confidence around the team, the feeling about maybe how good Tennessee is?
What a difference a month can make. A month ago, we had this game penned in as a loss. Nature of modern college football. You take your schedule, you look at it, you go, okay, these are the games in question. These are the swing games on the schedule. These are your losses. Especially when you're in the spot Tennessee is, which is to say somewhere between, I don't know, team 12 in America to team 30, depending on the way they're going to play that day. And the ratings kind of reflected that preseason. But then Tennessee plays a couple of games. The guy I dubbed, ironically, back in the summer, Joey Football, because why not? I mean, here's a guy that was sort of cast off, and he was sort of thrown to the side, almost like a college football version of biblical Joseph, if you will. Like,
yeah,
he didn't know what was going to happen to himself. And now all of a sudden he's in a spot where he's celebrated. He's a story of stick-to-itiveness and all these things that kind of why we love sport. I mean, the opportunity this kid has Saturday is why we love sport. And the question is the glass slipper going to fit, or is the carriage going to turn into a pumpkin, come midnight Saturday? And it's going to be a really fun football game.
Brent, I don't know what Georgia is. You guys may not either. On paper, very, very talented. Also pretty young. I think, 54% of the roster is freshmen and sophomores. And I don't know the percentage of the people actually play that is. But Georgia, I thought was pretty decisive in a game against Marshall that whole program was rebuilding. And
Yes.
then Austin Peay, kind of, I don't know if that was a play with your food game. There were concerns on the offensive line, concerns about Gunnar Stockton being able to throw downfield or not throw downfield. But at the same time, there's in the back of my head, it's like, okay, Nick Saban's the one that coined the term rat poison, right? But Kirby Smart's a branch off that tree, and they use it in their own way.
Yep.
I mean, is this just a setup for let's lull everybody to sleep and then spring it on people? I mean, they've been known to underwhelm against talented opponents. Like, what do we make of what we've seen of Georgia coming into this one?
I think it's like you said in the beginning, it's kind of an unknown. And it's because of all the newness, especially defensively. There's a lot of, outside of, say, the linebacker core and a few other pieces in the secondary, most of the defense is new. Offensive line, new. Receivers, all new. Transfers, guys, and one that Colby Young and that you didn't see much of a year ago. So that is it's an unknown. And especially you want to think, all right, and by the way, Marshall's going to end up being one of the worst teams, I think, in the country, unfortunately. But you want to see domination of those opponents, but it's never been the case with Kirby. And he uses you can tell he uses those as practice with the way they manipulated the offensive line in that game. It's situationally, hey, I want to see if we can do this one particular thing, or I want to give this guy reps in this situation that might happen 5 weeks from now, kind of thing. So your uneasiness, especially at the quarterback position, is warranted to me, and your unknowns are warranted. But also then, like you said, the back of the mind, there's that Kirby trust that he's sort of seeing this over the long haul and knows what he has, things like that. And also, like, Georgia has had an Alabama problem. Tennessee's had a Georgia problem. And that's one that until you get over that hump, until you see it, you kind of still in the back of your mind, like, okay, I got to see it first before I believe it.
Let's talk injuries because both teams have got major guys out or questionable. Tony, I'll start with you. Obviously, one of the storylines this week is Tennessee's got both starting corners out. Now, I know Jermod McCoy, that is nothing new. Rickey Gibson, the third out. And some other guys, David Sanders is questionable at right tackle. They played without him before. Jackson Moy, David Hobbs. I mean, what is the injury outlook for Tennessee? How is it affected in this game by those absences?
They're so tight-lipped here, Chris. It's like state secrets, the very existence of mankind. And you can't get anything out of this head coach. I mean, he's just not interested in sharing. So, and the thing about the injuries is, fortuitous thing with their secondary was they went out in the offseason and got a kid from Colorado who's been great from the very beginning. And then ironically enough, there's a freshman kid named Redmond, who's a big, tall corner with long arms, which I love those guys in the sport, not these little corners, but these big corners that the Alabamas and the Georgias of the world have had down through the years. Georgia takes those guys on the outside and they lock guys down. This Redmond guy, for a true freshman, has been very good, and he's probably going to be in a spot Saturday to get picked at a little bit. In terms of David Sanders, both weeks that he didn't play, it kind of snuck up on people. And now it's almost to the point where you have to ask yourself, do I want to introduce a true freshman in a game like this with athletes like Georgia has on the other side? And here's what we know about Georgia. They've got NFL football players on their defense. I mean, when you recruit the way they have, I mean, look, I've got my Kelly Greene on here. Eagles don't win a Super Bowl, without those Georgia players. Even with the gentleman who gets a little, shall we say, physical on the field when it comes to his what's the word here? Anyway, we're recording this in the morning for those of you watching back, but he spit on somebody.
Yeah.
So, truth be told, this Tennessee team is a work in progress. They're not at their full complement. What this game comes down to, and it's kind of like Brent was talking about before, I liken this is a season opener for both teams. That Syracuse team Tennessee played is awful. Kind of like that Marshall team's awful. That Syracuse team struggled last week to beat UConn, and it wasn't a fluke. Their play was so bad, their coach made them run sprints after the game in front of their fans, and their fans were booing them, by the way, the whole time, and rightfully so. They were giving it to their guys, and rightfully so. Tennessee, we just don't know. We don't know how Aguilar is going to perform tomorrow. Georgia, we don't know. We know both these quarterbacks are really going to compete because that's the nature of both of these guys. We know that both of these guys have had issues with turnovers. And, Georgia's quarterback last year in the playoff game was very good throwing the ball, but he wasn't good protecting the ball, which kind of hurt them. And Aguilar led the nation in interceptions last year. So, at some point, one of these guys walks out of this game tomorrow sort of grown up and sort of more of a known. But both of these teams come into this game unknown. And, the Kirby Josh Heupel thing is really interesting because we went back and looked at it. When Josh was at Missouri and they were going great guns around, they were just ripping through people in the league. Their high water mark against Georgia in 2 years was 18 points. And so he has struggled in these games. And when they had Hendon Hooker a couple years ago and were really going through college football, just ripping, they had that start where they were 8-0 and, they popped up on that screen as number one in that first playoff projection. And nobody does the motivation thing better than Kirby Smart. Nobody. I mean, by the time this game kicks off, Chris, Tennessee will be a 10-point favorite in Georgia's locker room. I mean, Brent, that is what Kirby's going to do, right? I mean, he's going to use this thing this week, this whole, okay, guys, this is like a pick 'em. Nobody respects you. He's so good at it. And I think Kirby also circles the Tennessee game from his playing days, where it was really hard for Georgia to beat Tennessee back in the day. And I think he carries that with him. The same way Steve Spurrier in the 90s carried with him that Tennessee didn't recruit him, wouldn't change their offense for him. And I think these guys take that chip. I think it's one of the special things about college football. It's kind of a body, mind, spirit deal. And the spirit with these coaches, man, they drag that stuff. The great coaches do, and they have a way of conveying it to their kids. The Georgia-Tennessee game to Georgia in recent years, I mean, I'm just going to say it this way, it just means more. I mean, they are locked in for this game. They really are, in a different way.
And it matters. It's always mattered.
And it matters.
Yeah, Brent, I'm just going to let you respond to that rather than give you my next question, because there was a lot there.
Well, first thing, injuries. Georgia's right side of the offensive line. I saw in the first report that Ernest Greene, the right tackle, is probable. So it looks like he's going to play. He's important. True freshman, Juan Gaston, who, by the way, I think should be playing tackle, and should have been a top 10 recruit in the country. Like, he's that good as a freshman. Gibson is questionable. He started the first game. Like, if those two guys are back, I think it's a little different. But the interesting part that Tony said there about Kirby is he's hyper competitive. He is the most competitive coach I've ever watched in a practice, in any setting, in terms of just how dialed in he is to every little detail. And then also the point you made about the quarterbacks, and talking about the quarterbacks, and kind of one of them coming out of this game as a hero. By the way, neither of them to this point in the season have what PFF and what we look at is called a turnover-worthy play. So they put the ball in harm's way, the fumble or an interception that should have happened kind of thing. So neither of them have that. And also, they're like two of, I think, 5 quarterbacks in the Power 4 that have been pressured double-digit times but not been sacked.
Right.
So both QBs have actually been very risk-averse early in this season. So which QB, I think, kind of flips the switch a little bit and becomes aggressive and makes a play in an aggressive fashion, I think, and can get an early lead. I think whichever team plays with the lead in this game is going to ultimately win it. I don't see either of them actually. I don't see this being hey, if it's 10-0 like it was last year in Athens, I think Tennessee wins.
What I think is real interesting, Brent, too, is that Tennessee's done different things with this Aguilar guy than they did with Nico, and it makes no sense. They had Nico here for a couple years, okay? But they had to modify their offense and simplify it last year after the Oklahoma game. And I talked to people, and they saw him. What they thought they had at quarterback was not what they had at quarterback. And it's not till you get in one of these spots on the road, because that's really, in this league. Now, Tennessee won the Oklahoma game, but they sort of got away with one because their guy was bad and the other guy on the other sideline was worse. Yeah, and that's, and that's going to happen in these games. But what they're doing now, which is kind of interesting, Heupel's whole thing has been predicated on the wide splits and staying away from the middle of the field. And coming into the year, we all thought, well, that'll be good for Aguilar because, he's a guy that struggled with interceptions, and probably what they'll do is slow things down for him. And what they've done is the exact opposite. They're going fast, and they've narrowed their splits. And the reason they've narrowed their splits is they trust this guy to throw the ball in the middle of the field, which is completely counterintuitive to what we thought they were going to do. Now, I had Watson Brown with me yesterday. He joins me on Wednesdays. And Watson said, I think that's what they're going to do. I think Tennessee is going to narrow the splits. They're going to trust this guy to get the ball out. They're going to trust this guy to throw the ball in the middle of the field. They're going to use their screen game to their backs. Here's the thing that concerns me, though. When you take one of these guys and you put him on a field and the speed is just a little quicker, and we know it's going to be against Georgia, all of a sudden your brain, because I play a lot of music, right? I'm a sort of a musician. I guess I am. I don't know. But like I'm playing tomorrow night at Calhoun's on the River after I do my show down there. Like I'm a real sicko. But tomorrow night, I'm going to be playing with a guy that's an incredible musician. When you play with those people, you have to, in your brain, you got to speed it up. And it's hard to speed it up because I'm in a different, not that I'm comparing myself to a quarterback with these 400-pound guys chasing me, but the truth is Tennessee has got to pressure the quarterback tomorrow. The one thing Tim Banks has done in this series, in the Heupel era, is Tennessee has sat back and been very passive defensively, whereas they've been aggressive in a lot of other games. But for some reason, in the Georgia game, they've not sped up these quarterbacks. You cannot let this guy get comfortable in Neyland Stadium, to Brent's point, because the first 10 points in that game are extremely, extremely important, and neither team wants to be down 10-0. Neither team in this spot.
Brent, that's I know you were a big X's and O's guy. The split stuff and the tempo hit that. And here's another thing, guys. Tennessee ran 100 plays last week.
Yeah,
I don't know that I've ever heard of that. Like I had to triple check the box score. Like, am I seeing this right? I mean, the style elements of this game are just, there's a lot to bite off here.
Well, if
I could say one thing about the 100 plays, Chris, these 1AA games, they have to stop. And I know we're funding a whole new level of football, but I'm sure Brent will agree with this. When you're serving a fan base, you have to talk about these games.
Yeah.
But like I'm on a post-game show last week, and you know what I did, guys, after the game? I said, it's Georgia week. Let's talk about the Georgia game. And let's talk about what else is going on. How do you talk about these games that are glorified practices, Brent? And that's exactly what you said earlier. Yeah. It's like an insult to your intelligence almost.
Well, and the thing is especially with Heupel's system against opponents like that aren't used to it,
right?
It's going to be an avalanche, and it's just a matter of when, not if, kind of thing. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But all right, get back to what was your question again, Chris? I'm sorry.
Well, I wanted you to unpack
the scheme stuff.
Yeah.
So Tony's actually right, and I think the biggest thing looking at Heupel's system over the years, and I've actually been a very much, I guess, antagonistic against it. That hey, you need to evolve. You need to evolve because to take the next step, that you can get the 9-3 with what you're doing, but to take the next step, you got to evolve. And he's done two things early in the season that to me show that he is getting that. One is moving the quarterback sort of trigger point and launch point more so than normal, because that's one of the things that like people have always said. I remember going into the 22 game, I said, look, I think Georgia's going to blitz the ever-loving crap out of Tennessee. And I remember folks were like, why on earth would you do that? They're going to murder you. It's because the quarterback was always going to be in one singular spot. So you can attack that one singular spot. Now he's starting to move Aguilar a little bit, starting to, some play action roll, things like that. So that's step one, because the running game's always been good. The design of the running game's always been good. It's what's off of that. And then two, the big thing I think he's changed is areas on the field. And it kind of goes to Tony's point about splits, areas on the field where the ball gets thrown and the angles at which the ball gets thrown. Because so much of the previous, 2022 and earlier, I, as a defensive coordinator, even by the way, still a little bit last year because it happened in the Ohio State game, they know where the sort of line of sight for the quarterback with certain plays and certain formations. And you as a defense, hey, I know the ball's coming in this area. I can always be in this area. And that has changed this year. There's more sort of areas of the field that they are attacking, areas of the field that they are touching with the ball. Like I remember, I know a lot of the guys that do X's and O's stuff for Ohio State, and they hit me up before the game. Hey, what do I think? How is Ohio State going to play? I'm like, literally just go watch the Georgia game, watch the points that they played defensively, how they 3-over-2, a lot of different things on the outside, play with a light box, all that sort of stuff, because of the predictability of some of the offense. That's evolved. That's changed, I think, for Tennessee, and that's where I think Kitzelman's going to be huge in this game.
Yeah.
He got a lot of targets early last year, and then it kind of slowed and went away. So, but those are the things that I've noticed Tennessee offensively, where because of that, it gives them more of a chance against Georgia than they've had in the past.
And what's interesting, guys, too, and it's funny you'd say that, because Kitzelman, the tight ends, they've got 3 they like. One guy last week blocking was optional for him, and I don't know, when you're on film and they see that you're not blocking, it's hard to justify putting you, when you don't do the little things, it's hard to justify putting you really counting on you in a game like this. But the reality is that they have not used, in terms of targets, their tight ends through 2 games because they haven't had to. And the other thing about, you think about both these teams and how little we know so little, guys.
Yeah.
This whole thing with Georgia and this narrative that they can't pass block, come on now. Yeah. Brent, you might be saying, you don't believe that. Nobody really believes that. Oh, sure, they've struggled, with this guy at a tackle and, but they're not running in those spots. They're not running plays. They're just running plays to run plays. They're not running plays for success. If you know what I mean. I think
it's more of and what it's been initially this first 2 games for them, it's been communication.
Mm-hmm.
None of it's physical. To me, I only worry about when it's physical. Hey, this guy's too slow, or this guy's doesn't have enough play strength, things like that. Mm-hmm. That's where I would get concerned. Mm-hmm. The things that have happened in the first 2 games are just communication and mental issues. Those are fixable.
And these head coaches, I think, use this first couple of games when they know they're superior to expose those things so they can teach off of them. That's always been. Now, you don't want to get a quarterback hit. You don't want to get a quarterback hurt. And you talk about the pressures, but you and I both know Georgia will have that semi-solved. And if they don't, then they have an issue that's going to follow them the rest of the season. Yes. When they get in this game. And that's another thing that these games do. These games really expose you for who you are when you get in these SEC games, because you can't hide. At that point, you can't hide. And the guys on the other sideline, it might take them a half to figure out what your weaknesses are. But if they're pretty good, by the time the third quarter comes, they're going to be working your weaknesses, no matter what they are on either side of the ball.
I have a question for each of you based on something Tony said. I'm going to throw out this idea, and I'm going to let Brent answer it first. I think the scheduling thing you have seen coming for a while. There's too much money left on the table. I think what was holding the SEC back from an extra conference game was what happened in the playoffs last year, the way those were picked. And they would have been stupid to add a game. So now that we've established that strength of schedule matters, we're going to get better schedules going forward because there's too much money at stake. And now schools need more of it with the revenue share, for sure. But my idea, and I'm going to pay a few bills before I let you guys answer this, but my idea is let's take the games that we, Clemson and Furman and Georgia and Austin Peay. Let's take those and make those spring games. You bring interest to the product. You pay somebody some money. You don't waste one of your 12 games. And spring games have become nothings anyway. The fans are clamoring for something. Let's see you play somebody else. That feels to me like a win-win for everybody else. And then plug another real game in there instead of those. I think that makes college football better. That's my idea. I don't know how practical it is. I don't know how willing coaches are willing to do that. I don't know how much coaches want to show in spring games. And by the way, now that the portal window has changed, it feels like a little more pragmatic. I want to get your thoughts on that in just a second. First of all, we're brought to you by our friends at Game Time Sidekicks. This lovely 40-ounce mug I drink out of every morning with my ice water. It keeps it cold all day. GameTimeSidekicks.com, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware, all SEC schools, 350 other universities, stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. SE16 is your discount code to viewers. Rockform.com, ROKFORM, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, Rock Lock secure mounting. Just got their vent mount for their phones. And if you have the case, it's terrific. Really enjoying that. You should get that one too. September is the busiest month of the year with the new iPhone release, SEC 25 for 25% off your order at rockform.com. Also, Hovey Dry Goods. Those guys make your new favorite hat. And you need to look no further than the Hovey hats for high-quality headgear with a great fit and unique designs. The Bad Beat team of the week was Ole Miss, because Ole Miss caught a field goal on the back end of that game. Use promo code REBS for your discount at hoviedrygoods.com. That's HOVI. All right, Brent, I'm gonna throw my question back to you about restructuring the schedules. Is that something you think is pragmatic here?
Yes, I think I have long been an advocate for that same exact thought.
Yeah,
but coaches also they don't want to risk injury at that point in time.
Yeah,
it's you're such a risk averse when it comes to injury now. Like, that's why the spring games are, scrimmages and touch things and weird games now. It's just because of the portal and all this stuff and how depth has been spread throughout the country. You're one or two injuries away from being in a problem spot. I don't think it would ever happen, but I love the idea.
The other thing, Chris, is these guys, and you mentioned it earlier, there's no honor among thieves. And these guys are raiding each other's rosters. I mean, the sport is so bloated now internally that they actually have GAs and, kids that their responsibility is to know what's on everybody's roster. That's what they do. And they take these rosters and, like, I know at Tennessee, there are certain guys that are assigned to league. Like, you get the Mountain West, you get this league, you get that league. But there are certain guys within their apparatus that your job is to know what's on SEC rosters. My idea would be back everything up just a little bit, since we're playing professional sports now, and let's use the summer to have 2 exhibition games. That way, because your rosters are locked by then. In other words, I can't raid your roster in the summer.
Yep. So
at that point, if there are secrets, who cares if you know who's on my roster? And these guys don't even release depth charts anymore, guys. It's You talk about, we need some supervision.
Yeah.
Like, we need a commissioner in the worst way in college sports. We're not releasing depth charts anymore. So for that same reason, I don't want you to know who on my team can play. But if you did a preseason game, which is what these games are anyway, people would still come. Like, if Tennessee and East Tennessee State practice with each other for a couple of days like the NFL does and then played an exhibition game, you could get benefit out of that.
Yep.
You would not get your guys dinged up and beat up in the summer. And then you could go play a game and raise money for your NIL fund and raise money for their putting some money in their coffers. So I think they ought to do it in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, something. Just get that game off the schedule. Come on, Saturdays are too valuable. There's too many good games. There's too much. I mean, college football is at a point with parity, guys, that I've never seen in my life. Like, every SEC game this week, almost every SEC game on the schedule this year, you can squint and say it's interesting. I mean, you don't have to squint as much anymore, guys.
Well, no, every team in the league can beat anybody.
Yeah,
you're right,
Bruce.
Yeah. People like last week, I was telling people on the air, and I'm no sooth. Trust me, I got beat. You talk about some bad beats, man. I was laying under the chair in the fetal position by the time 10:30 rolled around. I got beat on the hook like 4 times last week, a half point. I'm going, what have I done over here? Anyway, so the Mississippi State game, my contention was, if Mississippi State gets Arizona State and beats them, Tennessee is going to walk into a hornet's nest. They play them at the end of September. Night game down there. Mississippi State's going to be unbeaten. They will have, unless they lose to one of these crypt teams, which I don't think they will, but you never know. They've got Alcorn this week, Northern Illinois next week. They will have already exceeded their 3.5 win total. You're walking into a place where a team's unbeaten, playing on house money. Guys, that was supposed to be the bottom of the league. Mississippi State was supposed to be the dregs of society in the league. All these games are difficult now because all these teams are spending on their rosters. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's going on here.
Yeah, I keep a sheet, and I just use basic stuff out there, like it's SP plus, FP, and then I'd use it and I project out all the games. All right, if Georgia and Alabama play today, what would the spread be? And I do it for all the Power 5 teams. and the the South Floridas and teams that you could see in the playoffs, it's 75 teams or whatever. It is amazing to me, so many games in the league, like there's already been 10 points shaved off from preseason to now between the top and the bottom. Like Vanderbilt going to Alabama would have been a 24-point game 2 weeks ago. Now it's like 13. Same with Vanderbilt, Texas, same with Mississippi State. 10, like the games that were 20-something points are now in the low to mid-teens. The games that were in the teens are now 4 and 5 points. Like, and this is just 2 weeks in, guys.
It's one of the things I said in the preseason that I thought the SEC would potentially have half or more than half of their league be 8-4 or 9-3.
Yep.
Where it's just they're all good. And they're all very close to playoff caliber teams, but they just beat each other.
Yep.
And I think we're going to, especially with Kentucky playing at least decent so far.
Yeah.
And then Mississippi State taking a step up. Now it's to the point where anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah. I mean, like even Kentucky.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I mean, I was going to say Kentucky's the worst team in the league, I think. But I mean, even they with the defense, I mean, you saw they gave Ole Miss everything Ole Miss wanted. So I just think it's that kind of year.
And very Vanderbilt, guys, has a credible football team. I call that credible. What they are is you better take care of yourself. Hey, South Carolina, I've got them on upset alert this weekend for that reason. That South Carolina is going to see a Vanderbilt team that's going to be very physical with them. And I know South Carolina last couple of years, they lost a lot. Now, they have that great defensive end. Or great defensive lineman still on their roster, the kid that was a freshman last year. But, man, they lost a lot. And that's the type of thing that's going to happen in this league from week to week. Hey, Tennessee has really high hopes, no question, coming into this Georgia game. Tennessee could come out of the month of September 3-2 after they go to Mississippi State. I mean, it's the nature of playing in this league. And here's the crazy thing, guys. If you think about the rest of the year, and to Brent's point, and I know Texas bit off more than they could chew with their scheduling early in the year, but if Georgia loses Saturday, you would have had a September where we're not even through the third week in September, and Georgia has a loss, Florida has a loss, Texas has a loss, and Alabama has a loss. And unless you stop and think about that, I mean, what that means is there are going to be some serious carnage in the month of October and November. Because these teams are going to beat on each other. And even the top teams have to face each other. Somebody's got to record a loss. That's –
Yep.
And imagine when we go to 9 games next year, guys. Just that one extra game. I don't think fans understand. Expectations have to come down for everybody when you go to that one extra game.
I agree.
Yeah. Let's talk about skill guys who can make plays. We talked about quarterbacks, but I mean, Georgia's got, and you alluded to it earlier, Brent, a lot of talent. We haven't talked about Zachariah Branch much yet. The running game has been a kind of a point of concern the last couple of years. Georgia's not run the ball the way it used to. How well equipped is Georgia to make huge plays in this game, especially with Tennessee's, starting 2 corners out?
Well, one of the and Tony actually mentioned this earlier, the Hood kid and then also the Redmond kid, the true freshman. The Redmond kid is, I think, the highest graded true freshman in the country right now on PFF at corner, or at least at his position. So he's played well. But in terms of the skill guys at Georgia, that's where I thought, looking at this season, that independent of Gunnar Stockton, that Georgia's offense would be better, and that you might not necessarily be as talented at quarterback, but that you get better quarterback play because of all the things around the quarterback. And with Noah Thomas, Colby Young, and Zachariah Branch, those 3, like Colby Young looks like a different player this year. He is dialed in, being very physical in the run game. Thomas, I think, they haven't really unleashed him a little bit yet. I think could be someone that could go win one-on-ones. And that's where in this game, that might be, hey, when in doubt with Gunnar, especially if it gets to a point where you're down at any point. Just go play the one-on-one game. Just go find a matchup that you like and go let those guys win. Branch, you're going to get him the ball in the quick game, and that's where he's going to get the ball and be dangerous. And he is. You could see how explosive he is. The running back rooms, I think both running back rooms, by the way, are really good, even though they're not sort of household names, just with 2-3 guys deep that can go break tackles, that can potentially break off big time runs. It comes down to which quarterback, who turns it over. If both quarterbacks don't turn it over and play sort of a clean game, this is going to be just a absolute, to me, beat down drag fight where somebody wins on a field goal late, like 23-20 kind of thing.
Tony, I know we talked before the season. Tennessee had that thing where it was down to 5 receivers at one point, and we questioned whether some of the guys they had were good enough. They've done the 3-headed running back thing again. Again, it's been against who it's been against, but it's kind of been lather, rinse, repeat with Josh Heupel's offenses.
Yeah.
What do you think of their skill guys a couple of games in compared to what you thought going into the season?
I mean, I think the backs are impressive. The Star Thomas guy, I had no idea has the physical ability that he does, because he's kind of a veteran player, and he was sort of one of those throw-in guys that you just sort of add. And it feels like you brought him in as a supplementary piece. And as it turns out, he could be a focal point. They've got 3 backs. Each of them bring a little something different to the table. At wide receiver, I just have trouble with these games, guys. When you're playing Syracuse and you're throwing against air, we know what Georgia's going to do to Tennessee. It's what they did when Tennessee had 2 first-round picks a couple years ago. They're going to lock you out on the outside. They're going to man you up, and they're going to force you to get off the ball. And we'll see if it happens in this game. Conversely, as Brent was saying with Georgia, Mike Bobo, it's been kind of clinical. I mean, I'll just be honest about it. It's been kind of clinical the way they've attacked Tennessee's defense. And one of my main concerns in this game is they're going to turn Tennessee safeties and their linebackers inside out. They're going to exploit matchups. And it's just a matter of, to me, it's even more incumbent for Tennessee to speed that quarterback up and to gamble a little bit. Because Georgia surgically, if you let him sit back there, you let Stockton sit back there, they're going to find guys. They just are. I mean, as is the case with most quarterbacks, there are just so many unknowns. This thing feels like a season opener to me. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to keep falling back on that, but sure, Tennessee's skill guys, their wide receivers, they've played cleanly so far through 2 games, and they've made plays. But this is a whole new kettle of fish when you get into these SEC games. It just is. It's just a different deal.
Let's do this one on the way out, okay? I'm going to ask you guys. I'll start with you, Tony. Give me maybe a storyline that's worth a discussion that we haven't talked about. And if you want to give me a pick, you can. If you're saving it for later in the week for your official pick, because I know your audiences probably want those. You can withhold it. But Tony, I'll start with you. A storyline maybe we haven't talked enough about in this game, and a pick if you're comfortable.
My pick, if I give it here, will probably move the line 3 points, because everybody runs to the bank to fade me. They go right to the cage to fade me. So the storyline in this one is redemption for Tennessee's head coach, for a quarterback that was thrown into the scrap heap. And here's the thing about life in Knoxville right now, okay? Because it was unprecedented when Nico and his camp just left. I know the narrative is Josh Heupel said, "Get off my team." That's not what happened. This guy was holding out for more money or whatever he was holding out for. His father's half crazy. And they allegedly left to go to a spot, like their narrative is, we wanted to go to a spot that's better for my son with better players. That's not what they did. They left. The tale of Nico and what they did is very cautionary, because when we act in pride in life, a lot of times we get ourselves in trouble. And you guys know that. Like, we know that. Like, I know that as a Christ believer, when I do the wrong things for the wrong reasons, a lot of times I end up in the wrong spot. and acting in pride and haste and anger and all that stuff. It might feel good in the moment, but you can get yourself behind the 8 ball. So Nico and Joey Aguilar are tied together. Okay. This weekend, Nico plays on Friday night on like the CBS Sports Network. And he's going to play in front of about 15,000 people in his own building because his team's 0-2 and people there have already lost interest. And Joey Aguilar, meantime, this game day crew is going to come to town. They're all going to pick Tennessee. Pat McAfee's going to act like a fool and jump into the Tennessee River. And they're all going to pick Tennessee, and that's how it's going to go. And will the Vols handle that spot? That's my theme. And when I look at Georgia, will Gunnar Stockton and their young team that you guys were talking about handle this spot? It's why we love SEC football. It's why we love it. There are so many storylines and themes here. Yeah. But from a Tennessee standpoint, it is a story of redemption. Chris and Brent, I didn't dream coming this week. Again, I had this game penned in as a loss, not penciled in as a loss, penned in as a loss. And since then, you know, we're old enough to know what I'm talking about here, but I've gotten my liquid paper out, Chris. And I've kind of brushed over
the whiteout.
The whiteout, thank you. And I've kind of brushed over because now we're going to fill in I have no idea. To make a pick in this game, I'm going to say this tomorrow, like we're doing our show from Calhoun's on the river down there in front of a couple hundred crazies. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. Zero. I have zero feel for it and zero idea. Because I don't know that these two staffs know what's going to happen in this game. This is going to be it's a season opener, is what it is.
Yep. And from the Georgia standpoint, the two things. One, last year, how big was Brett Thorson's tackle on the punt return? He just played like he's kind of not really fully back. And I mean, he's out there, but that's a different animal. And Buchard on punt returns is unreal good. So that's one sort of random thing out there. But with Gunnar Stockton and theme, the thing that I, as a counterpoint, because the Georgia fan base, I think, is very much kind of like, I don't know, wait and see, very much wait and see, not overly confident. But for me, I look at it as maybe the counterpoint being a kid who's grew up in Georgia, grew up at Rabun County, and wanted to be that guy, that quarterback his entire life. Finally is that guy. And he's playing those first 2 games at home, probably with who knows how many people there to watch him. And he knows it's against teams that they should beat and they should roll. I would want to bet that the nerves kind of got the best of him because he was way more aggressive against Notre Dame in the playoff in his first start than he's been in these first 2 games. So maybe actually going on the road is a good thing for him, and that you get more of what you think you're going to see from Gunnar Stockton, at least from a standpoint. Now, if he goes and plays how he's played in the first 2 games, Georgia's not winning. They're just not, outside of just too many plays, I think, will not be had or not be made, potentially, unless they just run the ball down the throats, which I don't know that that's going to happen either. But in terms of an actual pick, I think I put it out it's coming out later on our pod with Davey. I picked Georgia 23, Tennessee 20. I think the totality of just the talent and the game itself and the styles and how the way these teams play each other, that somebody wins it late or somebody scores a late touchdown late to cover. But I think it's close. I think it's a 4-quarter game and going to be dragging, just flip a coin at the end.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'll live through that. I appreciate you sharing.
Well, hey, the hook though, it's -3.5, so that would be a cover.
Stay away, Tony.
Anybody that bets on this game, guys. I mean, what's next? We gonna bet on raindrops? I mean, I see so many more attractive opportunities. Let's put it that way on our card this weekend than this one.
Yeah. Well, it'll be fascinating. Brett, you kind of hit on one of my things to watch, special teams. I think Max Gilbert's leading the SEC in scoring. A lot of that's point afters. You got Georgia's got as much talent there between Branch and Woodring and Thorson as anybody in the country. You mentioned Boo Carter. I could see a special teams play being the difference here. We don't talk enough about it. So as for picks, I've made mine on a prediction, but I'm with you guys. I call this a zero confidence game. I've made a pick. I have no confidence in it because I don't know what's going to happen. But man, guys, what a show! Thank you both for joining me. We got football. We got X's and O's. We got a little theology. Got whiteout. I mean, what more can you ask from a show?
Music. I mean,
music. I left out music. Next time we're gonna let Tony play the intro to the pod. How about that?
Well, there you go. Hey, Brent, it was nice meeting you, and Chris. You know
Pleasure.
I love you, man. So anytime, Chris, I'm here for you.
Well, likewise. Well, thank you guys. Enjoyed it. Can't wait to see how this one turns out this weekend. We'll have you covered at the channel with Saturday reaction shows. For Tony Basilio, Brent Rollins, I'm Chris Lee. God bless you guys. Have a great day. This is Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.